So Family Guy isn't exactly known for its crossovers, focusing more on cameo appearances rather than full episodes dedicated to other series. In fact, there have only been 2 real crossovers in the show's history, The Night of the Hurricane and The Simpsons Guy, with The Night of the Hurricane being highly considered to be one of the worst crossovers in history and possibly would have stopped them from doing more crossover episodes. So I thought it would be fun to take a look at this crossover event, see where they went wrong, and then just for fun, see if I could come up with a way to fix it that kind of makes more sense and would have made a more creative crossover. But before we get into that, guys, I'm trying to hit 3,000 watch hours as well as 1,300 subscribers, and if you guys could help me out with that, it would be greatly appreciated. So first off, The Night of the Hurricane is technically a spoof of the 1981 ABC Hurricane Saturday. This was a one-off event involving 3 sitcoms created by Susan Harris, The Golden Girls, Empty Nest, and Nurses. During this event, a hurricane hits Miami, Florida, and we see how the cast of the 3 shows all kind of deal with it. Now, an important thing to note is during this event, the cast of the 3 shows does not interact with one another. Essentially, it is 3 standalone episodes that happen to revolve around a hurricane with little Easter eggs on the news that hint at the other shows. So this is exactly the route the creators took for the Night of the Hurricane event in 2011. And guys, I'm just realizing that is over 20 years ago. Feels like yesterday. Anyway, so the event starts with the Cleveland show episode Hurricane, with the Brown/Tubbs family having to cancel their vacation plans due to the storm. Cleveland tries to cheer them up with a sham cruise, but they don't have any food since he threw out what they had for the vacation. He tries to get more, but can't because of the storm, so they start to pray together. This is where they find out that Junior does not actually believe in God, and pretty much the rest of the episode is them trying and failing to convince Junior to believe in God, ultimately culminating with Cleveland getting stuck under a fallen tree and the family praying for help and Cleveland Jr. actually using science to get him out. So really nothing changes throughout the episode, right? But following this episode was American Dad's Seahorse Seashell Party, where when the TV goes out due to the storm, Brian decides to go and do some edibles and starts hallucinating, kind of culminating with him cutting off his own ear and Stewie taking care of him until he comes down from the trip. While this is happening, Meg finally stands up for herself with the rest of the family, causing them to actually turn on each other, and ultimately they all end up crying by the end of it. And this actually causes Meg to have the realization that she is actually the lightning rod that catches all of the family's frustrations, and this time she willingly walks back into that role, this time having found a newfound purpose in it as opposed to just feeling like the family's punching bag. I mean, at least it's a hell of her own choosing, and personally I think she made the wrong choice. Meg was getting treated like crap, and she should not have continued letting herself get treated like crap. And that's kind of carried on into the newer episodes, even though they are giving Meg like a lot more attention and real character development these days, which is great for that character and much needed. But following Family Guy was the American Dad episode, also titled Hurricane. And to sum this up, the family is split between evacuating with Sherry and Buckle or not evacuating and staying in the house with Stan, pretty much dividing the family in the middle. But basically every decision Stan makes backfires because he is actually horrible in a crisis, with him causing the house to float away, capsize. He also allows a shark to get into the house that injures Haley, killing Roger's date that he had been trying to get rid of. He lets a bear in to fight the shark, which actually ends up injuring Steve. He electrocutes Roger and just starts beating Jeff up. The scene ultimately culminates with Buckle and Sherry returning, tranquilizing the shark, bear, and ultimately Stan, pretty much saving the day. And the episode ends with Stan waking up, having learned pretty much nothing. This doesn't stick, whatever lesson he was trying to learn. But he gets up, walks outside to find out that his house is actually in between Cleveland and Peter's, and the 3 actually have a standoff at gunpoint, which culminates with Stan shooting Francine because he's terrible in a crisis, and Peter saying, haha, classic American Dad. So I'm not gonna lie, I could give you a ton of reasons why this is considered the worst crossover ever, but I don't actually have to do that. There are plenty of other YouTube videos and other YouTubers who actually walk through that much better than I ever could, and I say just go find one of their videos. But I think it boils down to pretty much 3 things, right? So number 1, marketing. This was marketed as a big crossover event. Everybody thought there would be more interaction between the families, and There wasn't. 2, the episodes just weren't really good. There's no lasting lessons, with only a couple of exceptions in Meg and Junior. There's no real character development, and really the Storm doesn't play all that big a role outside of American Dad, and I think that was just to move the house, and we don't even see the Brown or the Griffin's house getting moved, so that really doesn't make a lot of sense. And then number 3 is kind of the big one. They're spoofing a thing that most people don't even know happened, exactly the way it happened, and so there's no payoff, especially when everyone was expecting a big crossover. So pretty much overall, it was just a letdown. And I personally think that the individual writers didn't even really want to do it, especially since Family Guy didn't even use the same title as the other two, so they were kind of expecting it to fail already. But now we can actually get into the fun part, and that is, I'm going to try and fix it. So first off, I'm going to change the order a little bit. I'm going to put American Dad first. The story can remain the same. Honestly, it's probably the best story overall out of the 3, and at least it shows the house being moved. But I'm going to end it right before Buckle shows up and knocks out Stan and the animals. So I'm going to leave it on a kind of a bit of a cliffhanger. After that, Family Guy will come in, and here I'm going to cut the Brian drug trip with Stewie, but I will leave the part with Meg going off on the family. It's much needed character development for her. The exciting event for the episode will be the house being swept off its foundations. Then when the family runs away to go cry by themselves, Peter and Brian are actually going to get swept out of the house, and here Brian and Peter will run into the Smiths, presently being attacked by the bear and the shark. So here, instead of Buckle saving the Smiths, Peter and Brian will accidentally kill the bear and the shark. So now Peter and Brian will need to get back to the family. Stan, who is still trying to prove he isn't bad in a crisis, offers to help. Mind you, at this point, most of his family is injured, so Peter, Stan, and Brian essentially come up with a way to find Peter's house and tie the two houses together. And let's just say, right as they get the houses together, Peter reunites with Lois, but then they see things coming towards them, and then the episode will stop. And this will roll us right into the Cleveland show, and I actually don't need to change this too much. We're still going to keep them missing the vacation, trying to do the staycation, and finding out Junior doesn't believe in God, but I am going to add in the flooding outside of the house. I'm going to move up the tree falling in Cleveland and make the cause of it falling be the Smiths and Griffin's house actually hitting it. Here, all the families would meet. Donna would be able to doctor up the injured Smiths. She would need medication and bandages from the other houses, so the families split into groups, allowing Meg and Junior to bond over their individual character development, really sticking to their guns this time. And I think this would work since the Smiths and Griffins are both highly religious, so having the main story revolve around closing up Meg and Junior's stories while staying safe from the storm and looking for the items needed to treat the injured would actually work. Through the families working together, Stan would come to terms that he couldn't do everything by himself and actually needs the help. Through thinking he was going to lose his family, Peter could learn to be more respectful of Meg, and maybe after his near-death experience, Cleveland learned to be a little more tolerable of Junior's decisions on religion. And then ultimately the storm would end, and you would still get that scene of all 3 of them just pretty much standing outside of the house, and I'll even leave in Stan shooting Francine just because she startles him. And that's how I would fix Family Guy's worst crossover ever. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can kind of fill in between. This is just kind of like a general script I was thinking about. But let me know in the comments down below, how would you guys have fixed the worst crossover ever? Do you like how I would fix the worst crossover ever? What are your notes? What are your comments? Let me know down below. While you're down there, please remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.